All right, let's get into this real quick. So here's what you need to know. Basically, this video is about something spectacular. It's about something that most believe is a lie. And it's not a lie. It does actually exist. I'm going to show you exactly where it exists. There is a special type of check from the Social Security Administration. It actually comes directly from the U.S. Treasury that basically can pay you and win you and get you a check for disability benefits in 5 to 7 days. I know a lot of you are thinking this is impossible. How dare you say this? You're full of bleep. But no, you're watching this video because out of all the other YouTubers that you watch, I'm probably one of the only or the only actual Social Security disability attorney. And so when I make a video, I can't fluff things a little bit. You know, I've watched the other guys. I've watched the people who worked for the SSA. I've watched the people who got found disabled. Now they know all the secret treasures and, you know, yada. I've seen all of that, okay? I'm not worried about them competing with me. I think we do a better job when it comes to the information. Specifically, I want to show you essentially POMS RS 02801.001. Again, RS 02801.001, critical case criteria and exclusions. Now, why is this important? Well, they just released an emergency message from the Social Security Administration, basically 11/17/25. So like, you know, a week ago, not even a week ago. Here's what you need to know. I'm going to explain to you what this is so you have a full understanding of how this rule actually works, how you can access a Social Security disability check in basically less than a week. Have I had these before? I've had these before. I've done these before. In very rare situations do these apply. So I just want to right up front, I don't want you to be willy-nilly all over the place with this. This is for very specific types of situations. Let's go into it. Policy, critical case criteria. SSA's goal, that's the Social Security Administration, all these programs, retirement, disability, SSI, are under the umbrella of the Social Security Administration, okay? SSA's goal is to pay all benefits due on time, which they keep doing. It's just the whole food stamp thing we've been a little rough on lately. I'm not saying anything about Trumpikins or Shoomy Loomies. I'm not saying nothing, all right? You love them. You love them like you love them, all right? I know some of you raised Biden in your garage and Trump in your attic, but just remember, you got to love me too. All right, here we go. Please remember to like and subscribe. All right, here we go. Processing critical cases has a priority over all other workloads. All right, you don't rarely see in any Social Security anything where they say you got to, as an employee, work on this above everything else. If the building is potentially going to set on fire, if there's going to be a horrible situation happening tomorrow, if the world is going to end, I quote, processing critical cases has priority over all other workloads. That means everything. That's that. If the manager wants you to do something, you got to be like, no. I got to process these magical checks. All right, here we go. Through routine processing, this goal is usually met. So now we're getting a little wiggle from the, you know what I mean? They're putting it right into the POMS, right into the manual like that they follow. They're like, hey guys, we strive for the highest priority is this, but then the next sentence is this. Through routine processing, this goal is usually met. You know, it's mostly peaceful, right? Is usually met. However, when a beneficiary is adversely affected because payment is not made timely, our goal is to resolve the problem and make payment as soon as possible. Some of these cases are considered critical. We're going to go through the elements, exactly how it works, so you know how it works, all right? Most critical cases are identified and processed in the FO, the field office, the little building near you, and paid via the critical payment system, the CPS. All right, CPS, that's how they make these payments, is a method of payment designed for use primarily, but not exclusively, in critical case situations. Now, you know, critical case just means like, you know, this is an important case. This is something special. All right, note, the existence of a CPS exclusion does not also exclude the case from critical case processing. When a CPS, that payment system, exclusion exists, the field office will complete an MDW 2560 HP request, which is a high priority payment center request. So put it another way, a lot of you don't know this, but there is a magical office out there where they do a lot of checks real quick. So if you're sitting there like, why haven't I got my check? It's been 2 weeks. What the hell? You are probably not using what's called a high priority payment center request, which is an MDW 2560 HP request. You're not going to remember all that, but the bottom line is some people get to use the fast track. All right, that's it. You're playing chutes and ladders. You're climbing a lot of ladders. All right, here we go. There are two methods of replacing payments which have not been received by an individual. There's the critical payment. A check is issued by the Treasury Department and received by the individual in 5 to 7 days. That's 7 days right there. That's real quick. That's like, woo, we're going to back to the future on this thing and make it happen. The critical payment process is used for limited situations, and the FO should be certain the problem cannot be resolved through routine processing, which is their way of politely saying, hey, you know, if you could process this the normal way, just process it the normal way. But if it's a critical case, get that check on that roll, 5 to 7 days, that puppy's getting sent out. All right, let's read a little more so you know exactly what critical case is, how that all works. The immediate payment, IP, immediate payment, they're sending that puppy right out. A check is issued immediately in the field office because of the dire need situation. Both of these payments processes are recorded via CPS. Okay, so what do you need? I'm going to do another video on that, but what do you need to know? They've got two options. Option number one, even though they're trying to get rid of checks in total, they can go ahead and make payment that day. They can go ahead and make payment and they give you the check at the field office. That's option number one. That's like same day, you know, here's your disability check. Option number two is 5 to 7 days later, you get a check from the U.S. Treasury as part of an immediate payment, urgency, critical, super important system where they mail out a check, okay? For all critical cases, this is where they define some of the basics. There must be evidence of, number one, entitlement with the paper evidence submitted to the SSA. So they expect you to show up and give them the documents, usually in paper form, because that way they can read them right while they're there. And they need to see in those paper documents really severe stuff, okay? And number two, so element one, entitlement with the paper evidence submitted to the SSA, okay? Element number two, and payment is due for terminal illness TERI cases. There are developmental tolerances. Okay, so let me put it real quick. So for all critical cases, there must be evidence of one, that you are entitled with paper evidence submitted to the SSA. And two, a payment is due for a TERI case or a terminally ill person. One, a critical case exists when the case is identified as a TERI case. That's like terminally ill, like, you know, it's not going to go well. Or here's the other option, a due payment has not been received and an urgent need exists and or there is a public relation problem. Okay, let me explain to you what this means. You're either going to pass away and they're going to get you a check real fast, or option B, you were due a payment, you never got it, you're freaking out, the situation is critical, it's urgent, and they go ahead and process a check right at the field office or process a check from the Treasury. 5 to 7 days later, you get in the mail. Or option three, and this is important because let me tell you something. Some of you guys, you know, where you're like, well, I'm going to go talk to a senator, and I'm always like, maybe you should go talk to the news station, because option three is, quote, okay, right here, and or there is a public relations problem. Okay, let me explain to you what public relations problem is. When the SSA doesn't look good because it looks like they're doing something they shouldn't be doing, and as a result of not doing the thing they should have done, and now they're not looking so good, and now they're not looking so good in the news, and now they're not looking so good online, you better believe they have it into their palms statute. They got to process that puppy real quick to you. Okay, note, for all garnishment situations, use COGS per GN 02401, 2410.210. All right. A critical case may be, number one, an initial claim for retirement, survivors, or disability benefits with all factors of entitlement met. All TERI cases are critical. Why? Because a TERI case means you're going to die. It means you're going to pass away. It's not good. It's a very, very bad thing. It means that you have a very short period to live. Medically, we know this. It's from objective evidence. We are assured of it. Okay. Next, a reinstatement of payment cases that have been suspended and evidence has been submitted showing the suspension no longer applies. Or 3, a delayed or interrupted payment for a beneficiary due to a processing error, failure to convert life benefits to survivor's benefits, incorrect death termination. That's where they link you in their system and say, yeah, this person died, but you didn't. You showed up, and then they do a resurrection inside their system. Then you have also appellate reversals. That's where you appeal, and then you get all the way up here, and there's an appellate reversal situation. In that situation with these cases, PCs, right, that's the payment center, may make payments in AC, appeals counsel, and ALJ, administrative law judge, reversals and RSI consideration cases. If an FO, the local field office, the little building you go to, identifies such a case as a critical case, an MDW 2560 HP request, that's that high priority payment center request, should be completed and sent to the PC. That's where basically they send out a notice and say, look, this person is going to pass away. Look, this person should have gotten a check and it's an urgent situation. Look, we messed up. It's in the news. We don't look good. Please, payment center, send this to the priority payment center request area for a high priority payment and get them to send that puppy out real quick. The method of payment for a DIB, disability insurance benefit, it's like SSDI, reconsideration reversal identified as a critical case in an FO field office depends on the location of the file. In all cases, CPS, the payment processing group, processing should be used. If there's a CPS exclusion or the FO has not received a copy of an approved SSA 831 or 833, then send it to the high priority payment center request. So, does a magical check exist to get disability benefits in 5 to 7 days? Yeah, it does. It absolutely does. Most people don't know about it. It's not super secret, but bottom line is you gotta know what you're looking for. You gotta be in the field. You gotta study disability law. Okay, it absolutely does exist. They even have it where you can get it the same day from the local field office. Now, there was just a week ago an emergency message where basically they essentially had some changes that they wanted to do. Let's check through it real quick and go through it. All right, background. This is identification number. POM's recent change, RS02801TN20. Again, RS02801TN20. Here we go. It's from the ORDP. That's the policy department. All right. Effective August 1st of 2025, the agency updated the procedure for documenting the receipt of Title II. That's like retirement, disability, immediate payments as outlined in EM 25048. This transmittal incorporates the new procedure in EM 25048 to reflect how technicians document the receipt and notifications of Title II IPs. Now, basically, it goes through essentially correcting spelling errors, spell out proper job titles, updating and replacing references for Form SSA 795. It does that. It gets rid of a section that was obsolete. It goes through that. Here's what you need to know. This is my belief as to why this is happening, okay? I think what is happening is that they are assessing in all functions of the SSA places where people could potentially suffer greatly, pass away, and it could end up as a story in the news. And it is my opinion that very likely the White House is saying, all right, let's do a full assessment as to all the ways that somebody could die or pass away or however you want to call it, or suffer greatly. Let's figure out all the ways this could happen where they don't get their check. And then let's update the process by which we go ahead and do this. Why? Why would Trump want to do that? Trump is in a sticky spot. We all saw he was holding back food stamps. He was making legal arguments. Schumer was doing his own holdback for everything on his side, which is, basically the subsidies and the this and the that and the this and the that. Okay, cool. So the bottom line is this. At the end of the day, just to make this, clear, Trump has to be careful, because if the Democrats are able to get a bunch of people that, can go on to news articles and go onto television and bitch and complain and say, I didn't get my check and I'm passing away in a week. I didn't get my check and I'm passing away in 6 months. The doctors gave me 9 months to live. Then Trump's got a problem. And the problem does not get better, because then that thing circulates. The Democrat, oriented politicians and the senators and the House reps get to use that to go after him. So what's happening is, like, right now, they're trying to control essentially bad news coming from the Social Security Administration. They just released the Epstein files. People are getting arrested. The bottom line is he wants to make sure that nobody is suffering to the point where it's going to negatively affect the Republican Party, which, as a politician, that's part of his job. That's his gig. My point to you with this at the end of the day is they did a full review of this particular special magical be found disabled in 5 to 7 days, POMS rule. And they said, let's update it. Let's correct it. Let's make sure we're solid on this, because if there's people who come down the line that need it checked, we want to make sure they get that check real quick if they're going to pass away quickly. Now, why is this important? I'm going to tell you what normally happens. People who are terminally ill do not normally go to the news. They don't, because, they're terminally ill. They, you know what I mean? Like, they don't have much time left to F around with this stuff, okay? What happens is that terminally ill person usually has brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and cousins and blah, 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 blah. And those people go ahead straight to the news and let the news know exactly what's going on. And then the news shows up and they got their cameras and their RE broadcasters and the blah, 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 blah. And they're taking video footage of the person struggling and they're on the pillow and they're miserable. And that makes the Social Security Administration look like a, you guessed it, failed program. I'm not getting into the trust funds running out. So the point I'm getting at with this is that the Social Security Administration does not want to look like a failed program. It wants to look like a highly efficient, well-oiled machine that works off of electricity and has no effect on the environment and gets checks where they're supposed to go timely. But if it looks like they're withholding checks and you paid into this your whole life, that sucks. That looks like a class 5 no bueno. So this is my belief that Trump is making sure through Frank Bisignano, the current commissioner of the SSA, that everything is lined up and ready to go so that if they need to process people, they can do it very easily. And I want to show you the most important sentence in this just so you have a full understanding of it. All right, right over here. Okay. This is the big important sentence. Now, before I show that to you, please remember, I don't do Medicare stuff. I don't do Medicare stuff. So if you have Medicare questions, give Chapter a call, 339-226-6287. Again, 339-226-6287. They got a ton of agents. They're the largest out there. They can see lots and lots, and they can see more policies than anybody. That was one of their advertising things. They literally are that big. So give them a call. Give them a chance to do a tune-up on your Medicare. Now, the most important sentence in this thing is under subsection 1, part, I guess you would say bullet point 2. A due payment has not been received and an urgent need exists, and or, here's the most important part, there is a public relations problem. And or there's a public relations problem. Let me explain something to you. The Social Security Administration exists because you agreed. Well, you didn't actually agree. You were born in America and then forced to pay for it. You actually, it is a communism, socialism, social net. It is not something you actually got to choose. If you had a Ponzi scheme, you would make a poor choice and choose to invest in something that was actually fraudulent. This is like one step below that. This is where you don't get to choose. You're born and then you don't have a choice. And as a result of that, they got to make sure that people keep a positive positive look at Social Security. Now, I like Social Security. I'm a big fan of it. I think they got the taxes, ran away with them, and they're taxing people way too much with the FICAs and SECAs. But at the end of the day, I like the idea. I don't want to see old people without a check. I don't want to see disabled people without a check. Now, welfare and this and that, and we're, paying for this, paying for that. Look, I get it. If they have young kids, we got to pay for them. But, there is a lot of abuse there, too. There's a lot of people not getting married, not showing the husband's income, not showing the wife's income. Go both ways. Go both ways. I see some abuse every day with that situation. But the bottom line with this whole thing is humans aren't perfect. That's why we got to give them a check when they're old or they're disabled. If somebody passes away, we give them a widow's check, a survivor's check. If somebody's disabled and they're a certain age and still disabled by the time they hit 18 to 22, we give them a special check that taps into their parents' retirement benefits called disabled adult child benefits. My point is with this whole thing, Social Security is an awesome, kick-ass program. It's a great social net. It's one of the few social nets that I actually support because at the end of the day, it makes sense. They literally carved out. They're like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to find the most fragile classes of people, put them under the umbrella of the Social Security Administration, and then focus on making sure we have enough tax money and enough basically just general employee go-getter to actually make sure these people are okay. I'm good with that. That's a tax I agree with. Now, they've kind of run away with it. You got your 12.4 plus your Medicare tax on top of that. So, 15-ish, hey, it gets a little spicy real quick, And I think one of the things you have to keep in mind too, they've got to find a way to get away from the trust funds that we're currently using. Keep them, but create another trust fund that's not based on the government investing money under its own guidance and creating its own bonds. That was allowing the government to have the lock, the key, the hand to open it all, swing the door open and use it as they want. That was not a smart move on behalf of the American people. Getting a bunch of investors that know investments, green tech is not where it's going. It's going with basically AI tech, robot tech, future cars are all automated through electricity. That's the future. You want to invest in that? Yeah, you're going to make a lot of money. You could swing a lot of money as a government, but you invest in here we go, solar panels again. That's just going to end up in China somewhere. It really is. And then we're going to have to buy it back using Amazon. That's pretty much the summary. With that said, please remember, Attorney Walter Hnot, you have an amazing, amazing night. I'm going to do one more video. I think a lot of the people got it wrong when they did the video about what Trump's agenda was to end the destruction of the grid outs. I've watched a couple of videos that people did, and I did the whole put it at 2x speed to hear what they were saying. And I got to be honest, these people do not understand what the grid outs actually are, how they affect it, why they were put in place. I'm going to give you the real version of what's going on so you understand it. I'm going to give you the real version of why Trump decided to cancel what he was working on there. I will catch you all at the next video in about 5 minutes. Please remember to like. Please remember to subscribe. Please remember to hype. Head on over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm, throw some stars up there. I'm going to be going next week live again where I answer questions for free. I'm just now getting over the cold. You can probably see my nose is a little messed up. Also, bottom line, if you need a private consultation that's bigger than just hey, can you represent me? If it's something about where you already have benefits or you're looking to go ahead and file down the line, there's a 30-minute or 1-hour private consultation option in the bio below. I will catch you a little bit later. Give me 5-10 minutes and I will catch you there. Have fun. See you soon. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.